Hello, everybody. It's 2 o'clock, so we will get started. If you could please maybe finish getting a cookie and some coffee, finding a place to sit. We would like to start on time so that we'll have some time for conversation and questions after the program. So this is our 8th season of History Roundtables, and those of us who've been working on it over the years are in shock that the time has gone by that way, but it's been really fun to put these together over the years. This is sponsored by the Bonner Milltown History Center, and we've added a couple of words to our name, and museum, because thanks to the generosity of mill workers and local residents and people who aren't either of those, we have been collecting a lot of nice artifacts that now we have on display in our space in the Bonner Post Office building. So I hope you'll come and visit and see those when you can. But let's move forward and get going on our program. First of all, I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones and put them on vibrate or whatever you like to do. Reminder, there's coffee, cookies. You're welcome to enjoy these during the program. If you need the restrooms, they're on my right, your left. If you go around the sign-in table and down that little hallway, the restrooms are back there. We have some displays that we would invite you to look at after the program. And I would like to thank St. Anne Catholic Church and MCAT for making this program possible today. Mike and Steve, who are giving talks today, are benefactors of the History Center, and they provide the space for us to operate out of, and we truly appreciate that. Our next program will be a month from now, February 21st. Scott Keene will be coming to talk about the history of logging in Montana. And without further ado, I would like to call Andy Lukes up, and he will introduce our program.
Thanks, Judy. It's fun to see everybody here today, in spite of the weather and the football game, but we'll do our best to make some history locally here. The purpose of these roundtables, as Judy said, is to better inform the community as to what's going on and in terms of its history. Today we're talking about the present, what's happening at the Bonner Mill, because it's a vital part of making history is today. We cherish the past, we know what happened. We're here today to learn a little more about the present and to help us better understand the future. The future is vitally important to this community and as represented by everybody in the audience today. I'd like to introduce Mike Boehme and Steve Nelson. They're the co-developers and owners of the Bonner Mill site. I asked for a brief biography, and I got, well, just give the names and that'll suffice, and we'll let them run wild over the audience here. So, Mike, are you up first?
Well, I guess so. Thank you, Andy. And thank you, community. What a great showing, especially with the football game on today. Steve and I are going to talk about the mill, the current today, what's going on, and kind of what we hope to be for the future. We will certainly take questions. I'm kind of in awe because in this audience is such a history of the mill, and we, in fact, if Gary, if you want to go ahead and fire up the computer, we'll just take a look at some of the things that we see coming down the line, but also what we're trying to do in the short term to make this a viable operation. Now, Gary showed me how to run this, which is...
That puts you in pretty insecure ground.
Yeah. So...
It's going to take a minute for this to come
Technology, don't we love it? Huh? Yeah, it's great. I want to get Steve up here because we're going to tag team this. He's going to actually be the fact checker because I'll embellish things and then Steve will say, well, that's not quite right. So anyway, but we're very pleased to be here, even though Steve would rather be home watching the Broncos win today.
They were ahead when I left.
Yeah, no, we don't want to say anything.
Turned it
because
over, so that's not trouble.
he's taping it, so he doesn't want to hear any scores. So I think I'm going to come around to the other side so I can see this a little bit better. This picture, and I will, I just grab the roaming mic. All right. This picture actually predates our acquisition. I think this goes back when the mill was actually in operation. As you can see, the plywood building, the portion that collapsed in the snow of 2010 is still there, but that's vacant now. So, a little bit about,
Is that gonna work?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to point it at the laptop.
We practiced, honest we did. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate that. All right. When we purchased the mill in basically 2012, December 15th, actually, was the closing date. It was a bit scary for us. We purchased 170 acres and 850,000 square feet under roof in 7 different buildings. And Gary, this still isn't.
Point it at the
Oh.
laptop. Not working?
We'll just do it this way.
Ah, there we go. Okay. The sum of the parts are greater than the whole, and really that really has to do with the fact that this was a single entity that had a single purpose, to produce lumber for various entities. But as we've come to work on the mill, we've found that, well, I think we're up to about 7 or 8 or even 9 tenants on the mill, and they all are doing different types of functions. So the, like we said, it's 170 acres on the Blackfoot. It's zoned industrial, so there will not be any commercial properties, nor homes on the mill site itself. It would be quite an endeavor to try and get the zoning changed to accomplish that. One of the big selling points of the mill, or a couple of selling points, is the water. We have a lot of water that is part of the water rights that were established back actually in the 1890s. In addition to that, we have a substation, not us, but there is a substation, just over at the other side of the river that has 35 megawatts of power available. That is a tremendous asset. In fact, when we were doing our due diligence, we really didn't take that into consideration from the standpoint of, you know, it's not ours, but it derives a significant benefit to whoever the tenant is at the mill, or multiple tenants. As you can see there, we have water permits enough to supply 42,000 homes, which God forbid we ever have that many in this area. Rail spurs, that again is a very significant benefit to the mill. And then the fact that we're only a mile from the freeway. Oops, going the wrong way. One of the things, and I'm going to let Steve step in here because I don't want to hog this program. And I don't know if he wants to do some fact checking already, but I'm just going to turn it over to Steve. And
What am I gonna talk about?
well, you can talk about this slide, which you've never seen.
Well, a couple things. One of the questions that I think we got when we first started this process, are you hearing me okay? Okay. So one of the first things, or one of the things that we were asked to talk about is why did we even do this in the first place? And I think Mike and I generally agreed what our motivation was. Number one, obviously, we thought we could make some money at it, but we were probably at a time of our lives when we had done okay, and we felt like as though that this was a project that we could afford, maybe, and then it was obviously something we thought that we could really, in the latter part of our lives here, maybe do that would be pretty exciting, and maybe we could make a lot of money. But we also thought it might be something we could do for our community, and that's, we kind of used to consider ourselves Missoulians, and now we're a little bit more leaning towards being Bonnerites, or whatever you want to call us. But we just saw it as a real neat opportunity to not only help ourselves, but do something for the community. I just want to say too, without I think the backing and the cooperation and the support that we've gotten from you folks in this community, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. There's many of you out here, and I recognize several of you that have come to meetings and talked to us and helped us and pointed out things that we really didn't know much about. And I know there's a collective amount of knowledge here that we've been at it about 5 years, or coming up 5 years now, and we don't even scratch the surface compared to what many of the folks that are in this room that know a lot more about it than we do. Some of it we don't want to know about, but a lot of the stuff we did want to know, and we do appreciate it. So just to talk, maybe we'll just talk in segments here a little bit, but to talk about environmental issues. As you all know, there was, Stimson had and Champion International Paper had a major cleanup that they needed to do out here at the site, and it was mainly PCBs. And they have done the majority of that at this point. They probably have spent $7 million cleaning up, and you know better than I do, but the old fire pond kind of in back of where the boilers were and behind the sawmill. Now you'll notice, and I don't know whether you have or not, but there's some more construction activity going on over there. There's a bunch of big excavators, and at the end of last year, they thought they were just about done, and thanks to some of our folks, maybe some in this room, but we had heard and found out that there were probably some more PCBs in an area there. So we, in conjunction with Stimson, discovered that there were some additional PCBs. So they have agreed, along with Champion, to come in and excavate that out. And that's right where the old compressor building, some of you I think called it the powerhouse, but it was right directly behind the two big boilers there, the big wood boilers. And so they'll dig about a 35-foot hole, and it'll probably cover 200 feet in diameter around that area where they'll be. They hope to be done with that in the next couple of months, the main part of the excavation. Some of that is fairly high level, so it'll have to be taken to Mountain Home, Idaho. The rest of it will be taken up to the landfill here, and then it'll be refilled with clean fill. One other step that we're hoping to take this year, and you'll see that coming, and we're working on it right now, and that is when Stimson left the last time, there was a fairly large pile out there. We call it the repository, but it's 2.3 acres. And if you look, as you look past the guard shack down towards the sorter building, it's that big pile of dirt there. Well, we hope that this spring or early summer, I don't know how fast the wheels will turn, but the whole plan is to have that removed and taken to the landfill. Because there are still small parts of PCBs in there, and we don't want it there. I don't think you folks want it there, and I know the county commissioners and the county in general don't want it there. So we're able to do that through, we created a tax increment finance district. I'm sure all of you know about that, but basically as the development has matured, there's been more taxes created, and you're allowed to use some of that money to do some things like this to finish cleaning up this property. And so right now we're in the process. Monday I should have some bids in from an engineer to tell us how to go about it. We've got a pretty good idea, and then we'll be able to put that out to bid, and we now think there's enough revenue in the tax increment to be able to bond or to fund this over a 15-year period to get that moved out of there. And so we're pretty excited about that. Probably from an environmental standpoint, that's kind of takes care of that area. One thing that's kind of environmental that you probably know about or we'll talk about for just a minute, and that is we have gathered with some other folks, some in this room, to try to create a sewer district for this community out here. It'd be West Riverside, Bonner, the whole thing. It's a little bit controversial, not everybody's excited about it, but the fact of the matter is, at some point, we've got to get everybody off of these little septic tanks and seepage pits and things that some of the places have, because we have a fairly high concentration of homes throughout this area. So through some volunteer funding from well, we gave some money, some other people some money. I think they raised $50,000, $60,000, and they're going to do a preliminary engineering report. And essentially what that does is they just go out and find out what really should be done, what can be done, and some ballpark idea what it might cost. It's 4 or 5 years before this could happen, but sewer for this entire community out here would be a big deal. It wouldn't mean annexing. I know that would be, beyond anybody's wishes, and ours too. We think we could maybe do one out here and have a district or a community district out in this area that would be, we could manage or however we wanted to go about it. But it's just a first step to find out what's going on with that. So that's one of the things that's happened. That's probably about all I got as far as environmental issues and that sort of thing.
Okay,
You want to go next, or you want me to keep going?
go ahead. You're on a roll.
Well, I guess you.
I knew when I gave him the mic, I would,
And I think one of the, at this meeting at Bruce Hall, you ought to talk a little bit about this park that is out here. I think that would be something that would be kind of fun to talk about, because we've had a lot of discussions about that, and that's kind of an exciting project. But maybe if we just take a minute, I'd like to run you through the what we've got out there, and then maybe a little bit about what some of the future is that we're thinking might come about. And when I get to, well, the first thing I'll do is, when we first started the mill, we had one tenant on site, and that was Northwest Paint. And they, as you well know, paint concrete siding and wood siding. It's a pre-finished product so that they can sell it to places where the painting season isn't as long. They've been there since day one. They ended up buying their property, the part of the old plywood building from us. And that's, Brett Fred is the owner there, and he couldn't make it today, but he extended the best to everybody. They've probably got 35 people working there. He was just at a big show in Las Vegas last week. He's got some cautiously optimistic, exciting kind of things going forward. He thinks he's picked up some new customers, and so we're really excited about that. He runs a great operation over there. He's got about 120,000 square feet that he owns, and then he leases about 40,000 more from us. So he's kind of in a growth mode, and we're really excited about that. The very next tenant we got was Hellgate Forge, and Darren's here, and I'm gonna, if it's all right, Darren, I'm just gonna stop here for a minute when I get done telling a little bit, and then I'll let you talk about what you're doing. But they took over, to most of you folks, it's the machine shop, and then there was the carpenter shop and the pipe shop. There are those 3 buildings that are right near the warehouse building. Everybody kind of know where I'm talking about. And still on the outside, if you look at them, they're not very pretty yet, and we have plans for that. But Darren's done a ton of work on the inside of them, and he has a forge business, and then he's expanding that a little bit. And Darren, maybe just if I could, Darren, just stand up if you want to. I'll hand you the mic, and then maybe you're probably really used to these microphones and talking in front of the group, so talk to him.
Oh,
Tell him a little bit about it.
Hi, folks. My name's Darren Wicks, and I originally just a plain and simple blacksmith. We needed to expand a couple years, and I, even before these two fellas took over the site, we were interested in looking at the warehouse when other people were, when Stimson was getting out. When they took over, we contacted them and made a deal on those 3 buildings. And since moving there, things, as they do, they change. And some of our forge market has left because of the economy, but things picking up also. We've done work for Alcom on site. Coaster Pedicabs is another company. We had built-in customers on site, which is a really nice thing, having your customers be your neighbor. So we looked into buying a abrasive water jet, and it's a computer numeric controlled CNC machine. It's like a milling machine, but it uses garnet abrasive to cut any material up to 5 by 10 and 7 inches thick. So we had our customers on site, and we've been working around the Missoula community, and it's pretty exciting finding out what's out there, what your potential customers are.
And I may be wrong, but I would venture to say that through that machine and the work that he's done inside, I bet you've spent a couple $100,000 in that property.
I don't like to count the numbers.
Well, I know you don't. We don't like to either, but to upgrade that facility, and he's kind of building it from the inside out. But we are going to try to get some paint on those buildings this summer and make it, look even better. So just to continue on just a little bit, everybody I think knows about Willis Enterprises. That's the logging operation where they have a big chipping operation, estimating, but I think he spent in the neighborhood of $5 to $7 million between the extension of the railroad, building the chipping plant, and they had to put in a new scale, all the other things they've done there. I've talked to them just recently, and they're very excited about the future. They think that they'll continue. I think they're running about 12 rail cars a day out of there with chips. They've got about 15 people working there, 12 to 15, and I would guess there's probably 50, 60 or more indirect jobs with the logging folks and that sort of thing that are directly affected by what they're doing. So we're really excited about them. They're great people. Then we have, go right ahead.
Thank you. All right.
I didn't know how this was going, so.
Long-winded. All right. We play off each other pretty well. We've been partners for about 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good times and bad. Anyway, Montana, and by the way, we have a gentleman here that represents Montana. I'll be very honest with you. When they came to us with their idea, it's like, oh my God, what are they doing? They take these shipping containers, and I'm sure, you see them going by on the rail cars, and they convert them into living quarters. And I mean, these things are beautiful, but it's like, well, where are they going to sell these? I mean, you want to live in a container? Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that do, and they've got a great backlog of orders. In fact, there's discussion. They're in a small space in the planer building, in the low portion, but they want to move over into the sorter building because they're growing that fast. In fact, I'm going to give Patrick a couple of minutes here. Don't be too long-winded, not like my partner, okay? And if you want to just talk.
Well, it's really important to maybe see a couple pictures of what we're building.
Oh.
If I could just get into my email or something, is there?
Well, we'll hold you.
Okay. Yeah.
Another one.
Can you, Patrick, you want to get it up on the board sometime?
I would like to.
How do you do that? You know how to do it?
Yeah, if I could just get into my, that's controlled by a computer back there. I'll just
I think
go
it's
back
right
there.
here.
Right there.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah.
So you
All right.
work on that and we'll keep.
Yeah, we'll keep going. And I think most of you know about Alcom, the trailer manufacturer. You know, we look at the inventory that they have and how many they build. They build 20, 25 trailers a day. I mean, it's incredible, their output. And Steve and I are going, everybody in America has to have a trailer by now. I mean, so many that they're putting out. But they currently, I think, employ about 140 people. They started out with about 20, 25. They anticipate and they've actually doubled in size. They're in the barrel portion of the plywood building. And their first portion was the first barrel, and that's about 75,000 square feet. And then about 9 months ago, we went ahead and refurbished the other side of the barrel, and now they have about 150,000 square feet. And they've just started doing horse trailers, and I mean, it's phenomenal what they're able to do and what they're pushing out. That doesn't look like mine.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. No problem. The newest tenant that we have, other than the brewery, which we'll talk about that, is Coaster Pedicab. Now, we have redone the bottom floor of the old warehouse building, and I'll tell you, it looks beautiful. If you get an opportunity to go over, you know, just stop in and tell them we sent you. But they build these pedicabs, and what they are is, think of a rickshaw, only this would probably be a rickshaw on steroids, because they are built out of steel and aluminum. They're very high tech, and they just transport people. But the big selling point, or actually the big revenue point for pedicab, is the advertising that they sell on the pedicab. And they have several big contracts around the country. They claim that they're going to take over that entire building within the next couple of years. And I don't doubt it, because they are very aggressive and they've got a great product, and they are really moving forward.
Where did they come from?
Actually, the originator, they're actually 11 years old. And they were doing some contract work with a company down in Darby that would build parts for the machine. But one of their people relocated here to kind of work on the assembly of that. And then the Darby facility closed up, so they needed a spot to build these pedicabs. And so they have them in New York, Chicago, big cities, and they just transport people. And they recently they're working with United Parcel Service, and this is kind of where the synergy, Darren had mentioned it a little bit, the synergy in the mill, that you have a Hellgate Forge and you have a pedicab, but he can do work for pedicab and they can walk across the street. Same thing goes with Alcom and pedicab. United Parcel Service came to them and said, we would like you to build us a transporter. In other words, so in busy cities, you know, congested with traffic and so forth, that they can have a box on the back of a pedicab and they can do their deliveries. Now, this has tremendous potential, and they're just in the very early stages of following through on this. But again, and then Alcom builds the boxes for pedicab. So, I mean, it's a great little synergy that goes on.
How are they powered?
I'm sorry?
How are they powered?
By pedal, just like a rickshaw. You're
They
riding.
have some that will have a little assist on there, that power assist. They've started, they've got some like that too. That's pretty cool.
They are amazing. Gee, Patrick, thanks a lot. No, that's okay. No. Yeah. I should have known better. Anyway, the brewery, Kettle House. They purchased 18 acres in the old East Log Yard, and they are in the process of building a 50,000 barrel brewery. Now, and I wish Tim were here, because they have a fantastic vision for the future for that plot of land. The brewery itself is about 25,000 square feet. They should hopefully by mid to late summer be brewing out of there. But their vision, and I don't hopefully want to put words or in what their plans are, but they hope to make that kind of an event center where there can be weddings, where there can be, let's say, small music, concerts, venues. And also they would like to make it a portage point off the river for canoeists and people that are floating the river to come in and enjoy a brew and go down and hit the bridge. Hopefully not. Have I missed anybody?
Tell them about the Alicon and the brewery, the connection with them. I remember reading about it in the paper. Don't they have some connection with them working together?
Well,
Coaster and Kettle House.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Coaster
Yeah.
and I think what you're talking about is in the paper there was some discussion about another company coming that is like a fertilizer
Oh,
company.
right, sorry, yeah.
And they were gonna use the leftover mash from the brewery but we heard in the newspaper they're coming, but we haven't heard.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing what the Missoulian puts out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we love the Missoulian. All right, and I'll get to that in just a second. One more thing I just want to briefly mention is that we're working with a company. We do not have any signed contracts yet, hopefully fairly soon, that is going to take a portion of the planer building, a fairly major portion of the planer building. So we've got our fingers crossed that that's going to happen. I guess one other company that I forgot to mention is Water Transfer and Storage. It's a storage company that they do, on-site storage. They store automobiles and boats and motorhomes and so forth. But their primary mission is to receive shipment via rail, and they will unload it, and they'll either store it or they'll deliver it locally. There really isn't a facility of that nature between Billings and Spokane, and so they're hoping to get that off the ground and get it up and going. That doesn't look like my slide. Do you want to talk, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay, you're ready, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just be really quick. Yeah, we built these houses out of shipping containers, and yeah, we started out just with one yellow container, and we actually featured it in downtown Missoula. Oh yeah, and so some of you guys might have seen it. And then we took it to Seattle from there, and we started taking pre-orders. This was a little bit over a year ago, and these two that we just delivered are the first two of a long string of pre-orders that we started taking over a year ago, and we're shipping these out all over the country. We build them here in Montana, and we ship them out to where housing is really expensive. Places like Seattle, San Francisco. We've got one that's going to San Diego that's in production right now. And so I can just flip through these pictures, and you can. Does that? Oh, because it's in my email. It doesn't quite work like that. So, so this is one that we shipped out to Brewster, Washington. It's just a single red cabin, really basic, and we built it out at the mill, and then we literally just installed it in one day. We just craned it right onto the foundation, and it was ready to live in by the end of the day, which was pretty cool. And this is a 2-container model, a double wide essentially, that we just installed in Olympia, Washington. That's actually me right there holding that string. And So yeah, we're we're a small company, but we do have some rather big ambitions. So they literally just transport down the road just like any shipping container does, except for they've got a built-out house inside of them, and so that's kind of a finished exterior photo. And they just go on permanent concrete piers, just like a lot of other houses do. And a big part of what we do for our customers as well is we go through the entire permitting process for them. So there's the inside. Got some good interiors. So yeah, they're really nice inside. So on the outside, it's a recycled shipping container, and then on the inside, it's a rather nice house. So yeah,
Pretty durable house.
they're pretty structurally sound. Yeah. So.
What is the square footage of one?
Well, they range. That first single one I just put up there is about 200 square feet, and then this one here is a 650 square foot 2-bedroom house. So, and then we've got several. We've got another one that's larger than this. It's a 3-container one we're building out right now, and then we've got several others that are going to be going into production that are over 1,000 square feet. So. You can build any size of house when you start connecting the modules together. So yeah, so that's all I had to say. But I want to see pictures done.
Patrick, awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Patrick. They are neat. They really are. And he didn't mention one, but they have an order for one in New York City.
Yep.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's talk a little bit. Well, first of all, I guess before we get to the future of the mill, but also want to talk about the houses a little bit. When we purchased the mill, it also included, there's 16 homes on the mill side, or on the mill side of Highway 200. And they were pretty dilapidated, to say the least. We had gotten a couple of bids from a couple of contractors, and they said, well, we can do it for this, but in reality, you probably should just tear them down and start over. But we really got to looking at the homes, specifically on the inside. I mean, these homes were built like a brick, you know what. They are, the lumber is all straight and true. It was built by a lumber company, so you know that there was a lot of craftsmanship that went into these. So, and the person here, or who is not here, who is largely responsible for turning them into the gem that they are. In fact, I've got, let's see. The 26 homes, let's jump across the street for a second, where the post office is, and those 26 homes on that side. We purchased those in 2012 out of bankruptcy. They had, and they were in pretty rough shape too, but they were all occupied, as they are today. As people move out, we try and go in and do a lot of rehab on the interior. There's still a lot of work left to be done on those homes, and we will get to them as our financing is available, and also our chief builder and bottle washer, Mike Heisey, who has just done an incredible job with rehabbing the homes.
Are any of those homes individually owned?
No, they are not. They're all rentals. Some of you may remember, if you drove up 200, what these homes looked like before we rehabbed them. They're in pretty sad shape. They were decommissioned by the mill, I believe, in 2008, and anything that is relative to history, a lot of you will know much more than Steve or I. So, but anyway, we went through and rehabbed them, and all 16 homes are currently rented, and people love it out here. Right? There seems to be a real attraction to Bonner. I know, you know, that people have pets, they have a yard, and they just seem to, we have a waiting list for people to rent these houses. Visions for the mill. You know, when we started out, people would say, well, what's your business plan? What are you going to do? And we were like, we're going to let people tell us what they think or what they can use, what best suits them. Because when we have as much square footage under roof, and we know that you have a building that's 300,000 square feet, like the Planer building, it's going to be multiple tenants. It's just a difficult building. It's beautiful. You walk in there and it takes your breath away. At one point in time, it was the largest wood structure in North America, and I think it's still up in that category. But our immediate plans are to kind of partition that building, so we can put multiple tenants in there. Also, as Steve mentioned, we are working with the county and trying to get that repository removed. And then beyond that, it's painting and some landscape work that we can do just to make it more attractive. And then one of the things that we're kind of, I guess, wrestling with right now is to try and find a client for that White House. I mean, that's a beautiful old building, but it's, it's probably an office building. Well, it's kind of hard to attract, clients to come out and open an office in that building, but we have hopes. And beyond that, we're open for business. We just, we love to hear feedback. We're very amenable to, I'll tell you what, I have a saying, you kiss a lot of frogs before you find that prince, and we've kissed a lot of frogs. We've had some very wild ideas that people have wanted to do. So anyway, now we're open for discussion.
Let me just, before you just a couple things I wanted to mention to you. You look at this, if you took it overhead now, there would be lots of white, because the Planer building, that's 300,000 feet, well, we put a new roof on that. The plywood building where the Alcom is, we haven't got it completely white, but the whole barrel, the valley, and then up to the pitch of the roof on both sides is now white. Britt has done a fair amount over on his section where he's at, and then we've done quite a bit too on the low area. And as Mike mentioned, we're hoping, we've got the paint now. You see the one end of the building down there that's got painted green, and we hope that by the end of the summer we'll have a lot more green paint. We own the paint. Now we just got to get the time to put it together. And I just wanted to take a minute. Mike talked about, and I might get in trouble for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. The folks that we're talking about, we really believe it's a data center is what it is, and I really can't get into the details about it, but the thing that's exciting about it, and Mike mentioned it in the opening remarks, there's all this power available, and we really didn't know that might be important, but for these kind of people, it's critically important. They need to have, they're going to probably start out with 5 or 8 megawatts power to run what their first phase of their operation, but they could get to 35 to 50 megawatts. And because of this mill and because of stone container and all those going down, there's probably 80 to 100 megawatts of power in this valley that's just kind of languishing, and it's available. The rate of power, because of hydroelectric and all that, it just became a real focal point for these folks that are from California. They've looked all over the country. I can tell you, they didn't just happen on us. They looked everywhere, and they looked at anybody that had lots of power and big buildings, and that you could get it quickly. And that's kind of what's going on here. So we really believe that something. They're spending money, we can tell you that right now. They haven't given us very much yet, but we've gotten a little bit, and they have contracted with electrical engineers here in town. CTA Architects, HDR's another engineering firm. They've spent some money on an electrician to fly him down to their place to look and see what they're doing. So fingers crossed, but it really looks like it's something that could happen. And initially, it's going to be more of a data center and probably not a lot of job creation, maybe 10, 12 jobs. But they've become pretty enamored with what they're finding here. And they're talking about moving their manufacturing facility that then could be 75 to 100 jobs. And so we're pretty excited about all that. So now we'll just turn it over to questions. So anybody, you have a question?
Yeah, I might comment that in addition to water and power, you also have a major fiber optic running right down the middle of Main Street, which is a big fiber optic.
And to comment on that, it's now in our site, down to our D-mark, which is on the far corner heading towards the river of the planer building. It just got put in, Friday. And so we've got fiber there, and it's going to end up at Alcom because they do a lot of transfer of plans and that sort of thing that takes up a lot of data. So one of the reasons they're doing it is to go to Alcom, and then Northwest Payne will probably use the fiber. And then Charter is also bringing, we've got CenturyLink there now, but Charter is also bringing cable and copper to the same area. So Pedicab will be able to use that, but very good point.
Yeah. My question was, have you considered any kind of incubator space for new business startups, ventures, entrepreneurs to?
Well,
they kind of have it already. I mean,
you know, absolutely. And
a formal incubator.
we haven't. We had a fairly long conversation, and I won't get the guy's name right, but the gentleman that operates the the incubator at the university down on Broadway, he came out and they looked at the White House, and we just didn't get any traction, and it's certainly something we ought to be looking at. But Patrick's right. We have those little kinds of things that, you know, if you drive into the planer building, you'll look around and you'll see all these different guys in each corner doing stuff. And, you know, and I think we were pretty fair in the way we started you guys out. And because, you know, we just see what you can do, and now they're paying some decent rent, and we hope to get more rent out of them. So, yeah, good idea.
Oh, yeah. Your White House looks like ideal space for software engineering.
Be perfect.
You got everything you need there, so.
And we probably need to revisit that.
The Reverend.
Oh, you actually answered my question. I was wondering when this tap room and brewery is going to open up, but I see that your slide says summer of this year.
Well,
Just the production.
Oh, okay.
Their total, you know, and we're probably getting ahead of ourselves a little bit talking about a tap room and events. I mean, that's a 20-year vision, I think, for those folks. What they want to do today is they want to brew beer, especially cold smoke. And I don't know whether you noticed, but you know that road now that takes off over there, it's now called Cold Smoke Lane. But anyway, yeah, they want to produce beer because they just aren't producing enough of it. And I think that'll be the focus for the next few years, is just making sure they produce a lot of beer.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I wanted to say that I'm really glad that somebody like you guys bought this property. I lived at Stevensville. I'm really into history, but and I grew up in a mill town in New England. But I'm really glad that guys like you are doing this, and I'm really impressed. Yeah, watching the Bonner history through the Missoulian, and I thought, oh, this guy came in and bought the town, and oh, what the heck's gonna go? It's gonna be Missoula Junior or something. But you guys are doing really good. You get really conscientious, and anyway, yesterday I've got a good friend of mine who's just started got another business. But if anybody in here is a serious woodworker, he's just brought in a nice load of cherry wood from back in Pennsylvania. That's in the smallest. It goes from 20 to 30 inches wide and 10 foot long. Beautiful stuff. He wants to get a hold of every woodworker I know because he's got a good price on it. But yeah, I pulled up to that security station there by the gate, which is really good that you guys got security. But anyway, he let me in, and he said follow me, and we went into the warehouse, and it was the middle of the day, and all of a sudden my day vision became pitch black, and I was following his taillights through the darkness. It was unbelievable. I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't want him to get too far ahead of me, and he was in the far corner, but he turned on the lights, and it took a while for the lights come on, and gosh, I was impressed with the space in there, and being a woodworker myself, you know, the first thing I saw was the posts and the beams and everything. And then I saw the electrical, the conduits, the panels. I mean, you got all kinds of power there, and it's just really impressive. And like I said, I'm really glad someone like you guys have appreciation for this town.
Thank you. I'd like to get a recording of that.
Next time we go to the county commissioner.
Bruce, go.
I'm just curious of the status of the four bridge cranes, those 100-foot wide cranes.
They're in there. Yeah, they're in there. Somebody, before we got there, I think the copper that they ran on for the power, somebody scalped that out of there. But if you hook a pigtail up to them, which we did when we put all the new lights in that building, they'll move up and down the rail and operate. They will. I think the issue, I think for these guys, for Patrick, they're going to be, I think it's going to be something that he'll be able to use for sure. But they operate. We just haven't found anybody that needed them at this point.
Where do you advertise for new potential customers? Do you advertise, or is it all word of mouth, or how does that work?
Well, a little bit. We have a realtor who advertises on you guys that are in real estate probably know, but it's called LoopNet, and it's a commercial, industrial, nationwide, and you can put it on there and say you're in California and you're looking for 100,000 or 200,000 square feet, and you're looking for power and water and those kinds it'll probably show up on there, and you can refine your search. And I think we're pretty sure that's how we found the folks that are looking at us as a data center. But probably our absolute best is it's the Missoula Economic Partnership. It's our economic development group in the city of Missoula or the county of Missoula, and they have feelers out all over. They take lots of calls in from the state and from this area, and that's where we're getting. We got Alcom. We've picked up some. I think Pedicab really came through those folks, so we've been really lucky that way.
How much square footage do you currently have leased out or sold?
Out of the 850, probably 500,000.
Yeah.
About 500,000 that's either sold or. And if we could get this other company in here, I think they'd start out at about 120,000 feet, and literally we should know something in the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's that close. Back in the corner.
You mentioned something about homes you have for the park. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'm going to actually maybe I'll just turn it over to Bruce, but you're talking about the park that the Bonner Development Group has. Yeah. Bruce, you want to just answer this question?
Can I say one thing first?
Yes.
I'm here because I've been involved in history forever, and I live in Cedar Lake. And you can't live in Cedar Lake and come to Missoula as often as I come to Missoula and know the bond and the equal personalities and interest of history that's tied us forever. But coming through here and watching what's happened to that mill site and the terror that we've had, even up there, that here's a sister-brother neighborhood to us, and what was you faced, and to gather this support and this vision and really never give up, it's a real testimony to all of us, and it's so exciting to be here.
But you're right. And it's humbling. I mean, I well up a little bit when I think about it sometimes. It's incredible.
And he never was.
Oh, I do. Somebody else, go back.
Montana's kind of famous for their equipment tax as being maybe a deterrent to some industries coming to Montana. Is that a problem for the data center, or do you see it a problem for your building?
Not so much us, but I think it is a challenge for the data center. But when you really dig down deep into it, you know, I came back to Missoula in 1980 and I started a restaurant that didn't go very well in town called the Savoy Restaurant. At that time, the business and equipment tax was 13%. And we paid back, and that was a long time ago, but I remember we got our first bill, it was $30,000. We'd lost $30,000 by that time, and we still had to pay that bill. Today, it's down to 3%, but you get, and I won't get into total details about it, but you get some credits to start with. I think it's up to $500,000-$600,000, the first $500,000-$600,000, and then the next is graduated, and then they have a sliding scale as far as the depreciation of those things. It's a revenue builder for the state of Montana. But when we talked to those folks, and we were open to it, we told them about it, and you know, it's just part of doing business, because they're coming from California and they're paying a lot more down there than they are here. So we're getting in the right direction of that business equipment tax, and every legislature seems to talk about cutting it back a little bit more, and I think it's something that needs to happen, you know, to get it less, because it is kind of a deterrent.
One question. You didn't mention, or you guys haven't mentioned, is the Harris Thermal properties over there, was that part of your purchase? Oh, okay. So this isn't part. No problem.
Don't even bring it up.
But we know a little bit about it. I mean, they built this big, beautiful building and had great ideas, but that was when oil was $100 a barrel, and the reason they bought that, according to what they told us, is that because they couldn't come up through the lock saw with their large loads, they thought, well, we'll just get on the other side of the problem, which they did. That part worked out fine. Then oil drops to $33 or $31 or whatever dollars a barrel, and where their focus is in Alberta. And so I think they've got 4 or 5 people over there, and that's it. Yeah. I think at some point they probably will crank back up if the market's there. But I think it's been a pretty tough deal for them right now.
I was browsing the net online. There was a company called Montana Grow. They packed it, and I looked for the location that showed it over here. Are they still over there with you folks, or?
Well, they are, and don't want to talk too much for them, but it's a silica-based, I think they call it a fertilizer, and they do have some good ideas. They're
stuff I've ever put in my garden, I'll tell you that.
It works?
Oh, man.
Yeah, and
I live in a little gulch, and I had squash. I cannot raise Hubbard squash. I had Hubbard squash this big around.
wow. Well, you know, John Porterfield is the principal. They're working at it. I think they're just struggling raising funds. They've got a mine down here by Bearmouth, and it's called ignimbrite. And then they grind it up and they make this fertilizer, and they ship.
Essentially, you mix it with, to make it work, you mix it with, without getting too much detail, you mix it with blood meal and your bone meal.
Yeah.
And when you put those 3 together,
It sounds like it's an essential part of plant growth. And anyway, we've been riding with them, and we've been working with them, and you know, at one time we thought they were going to take over the whole building down there. We thought they had some funding, and then that fell apart, and so now we've got them in a corner, and so we got our fingers crossed for them. We're hoping it'll work out.
Any more questions?
Bruce?
Bruce, you only get 2.
Oh, sorry, but I appreciate all the things you're doing for the community. You're involved in a lot of different ways. And just thinking that I'm sure you got a lot of visions of other things, and I kind of wonder if there's any kind of vision for the Milltown area, to the south of you, anything to the south of you. Is
we don't own any of that.
I realize that.
Bruce, though.
Ways for improving the community, and I just wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, maybe a couple. One of the things we're working with, is there anybody here from North Milltown homeowners here? But anyway, the folks that are down on that, what we call the southwest, you know, there's about 30 homes down there. we've had an agreement to provide them water, clean water, because they, way back when in the 70s, they had some wells that were affected, and so but we've been working with them to try to come up with a way to create a permanent solution from a water standpoint for them. And I think Stimson is going to come to the table, and U.S. Plywood or Champion's going to come to the table a little bit to help them out, and we're going to come to the table and try to make that a better situation for them. I think the biggest thing, not to get too much on my bandwagon, but I think the best thing we can do is if there would be some way to create some kind of a sewer system, and I'm talking about a community sewer system for this area out here. Bruce and you and I have talked about that at length, but I think it's going to cost some money a little bit for sure. Not it's going to cost a lot, but individual owners, it's not going to be, I don't think, onerous. But if we could get that for this Bonner, West Riverside, Milltown, all that area, I think it would, number one, it's really the right thing to do. You shouldn't be, we're just dumping this sewage into the ground, and it's probably not the best thing to do, especially if you've got your well just downstream, not very far. But we're fortunate we've got this really great aquifer, and our ground is so porous that we're getting away with it up to this point, but we're not forever. And I think that'll increase property values and do some great things for the community. And to me, that would be the best thing. Then it would be people can finance their houses, refinance their houses, do home loans, all sorts of things. So that would be my comment about that. So Bruce, do you want to take a minute and talk about I think it's an important part of what's going on out here. So you want to just talk a little bit about, describe where it is for those that don't know? Most probably do.
I won't sit in the front row again. My name is Bruce Hall, and I work for the Bonner Development Group. BDG incorporated in 1994 as a non-for-profit, and we have a number of projects that we worked on. One of the first projects that we undertook was creation of a park from land that was donated to BDG by Champion International in 1994. And then this would really benefit from having some visuals, which I have none because I did not know I was going to be doing this morning or this afternoon. But as I mentioned, we acquired the property in 1994. It's about 25 acres of ground. Since the removal of the dam, we've actually acquired land because much of the land was underneath the reservoir. And so for those of you who know where the old Milwaukee caboose is, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that's how you access it. So it's back there. So if you walk out of the Bonner School, you're about 5 minutes to the park. I guess to describe the park a little bit, again, 25 acres. It's got a half-mile of developed walking trail. There's a picnic pavilion out there that's quite nice. We have a sealed vault toilet on site and some other nice amenities, some park benches and a viewing scope out there. The park's currently closed. Well, let's see, let me back up. So 1994, the park was the property was actually an abandoned gravel pit that the DOT had used in creation of when they were building the interstate. And so we went through a process of reclaiming that property. And so we had built a park in there, which was open to the public like in 1995, maybe 96. And was open for a few years, and then in 2006 it was closed because the parks that was used as mobilization by Envirocon when they took the dam out. So the park has been closed since 2006. And we had hoped that it would open in 2010, and then we hoped that it would open in 2011, and hoped that it would open in 2012. And now we're hoping that it'll open in 2017. We're hoping. One of the reasons that it is closed is it's pending approval of EPA performance standards for vegetation on the site. And so what we did, though, we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Bonner School in 2009 that allowed Bonner students to use that site under supervision with their teachers. And so quite a few of the teachers do take their students in there, and with the hope that this would become a learning park for the community. The directors of BDG felt like the best fate for the park was to keep it in local ownership and local governance. And as a result of that thinking, we've entered into discussions with the school about acquiring the park. The school is currently working through its due diligence to take the park as part of an extension of the school's campus. So that's kind of where we sit right now with the park. We're just kind of, what do they say in the Army? Hurry up and wait. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Perfect.
Enough?
Perfect.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I probably have too long.
No, you did great. You did. Any questions for us? Is Darren still here?
No, he left.
Oh, okay. For Patrick, any questions for Patrick? Boy, that's unusual.
All over the place.
And Patrick, where are you getting your containers?
Mostly on the West Coast in Seattle and Portland, and I mean, but that's what's great about the containers as a building material is that there's just so many of them here in the United States because of our trade deficit. So many containers come into the United States and much less leave every year. So there's just kind of an oversupply of containers that just sit here in the United States unused. So.
Does it bring them in by rail for you?
No, we ship them on flatbed trucks. Shipping on rail is just a little bit more complicated than just shipping them on the truck. So.
My wife wants me to ask you, what are the prices of these?
They are, they vary quite a lot from, like the red one we had up there, it was in the range of $40,000 to $50,000, including installation. The 2-bedroom house was a little bit more like $120,000. Here in Montana, they're not necessarily a cost-effective solution compared to a stick building, but in a place like Seattle, the cost to construct is very, very high. And so in these places where housing is really expensive, we can be really competitive. And so our idea is ultimately to be employing people here in Montana, building houses for people in places where housing is really expensive. And so we build them here, ship them out to places like New York City, where a studio apartment is going to rent out for $2,500 to $3,000 a month, and that's where all of our customers are coming from.
What's the R value in the walls and ceilings?
The R value, we use spray foam insulation, so the R value is very high. About 22 in the walls, 30 in the ceiling, and 48. 30 in the floor and 48 in the ceiling.
Patrick, I kind of got a question. Your business, is it going bumper to bumper with like modular homes? How do you compete?
We are a certified modular home manufacturer. We're already approved. Our home designs are already approved in Montana, Washington, and now California. And very soon they're going to be approved in New York and Colorado as well. So we are a modular home manufacturer, and our homes go through the same process as any modular home does, any factory-built home does. And so all of our homes comply with the same building codes as any other home. We just had to figure out how to do it with containers, which happen to be a really great building block for modular construction. So,
I guess your selling point is durability.
Yeah. No, when you compare them to a wood-built modular home, there's just a lot of benefits to using steel shipping containers. From structural integrity to durability to the aesthetic factor that people just love the looks of these big boxes that were meant to be shipped over the ocean, and now they're converted into a house. People love that, and obviously the benefit of recycling materials is also a big selling point. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Bruce.
Are they stackable?
Yeah, we're doing a 2-story model right now, actually. So, yeah, yep. That's why we need those overhead cranes.
Any more questions? Well, I just want to thank.
Oh, sorry. I mean, I want to go back to when you were talking about the sewers and stuff. What are your guys' perspectives on like a water treatment plant for Boehme?
Partly what's going to happen with this preliminary engineering report is to determine that. My understanding is that you could have, help me a little bit, Bruce, but you're not necessarily talking about one great big facility. You might have one on this side of the river, one on the other side, one further down towards East Missoula. What do they call those?
On-site, you can have on-site treatment?
Yeah, like an on-site facility, smaller facility that, you know, we're not necessarily looking to either hook up or duplicate what they've got in Missoula, the city or whatever, but that's one of the things that this engineering report's going to determine.
It's been my understanding that the EPA is encouraging treatment near the place where the water comes out of the ground, instead of running the sewage pipe all the way 10 miles and hoping it gets to a treatment plant that has a problem discharging into the river, and then try and replenish water back into the groundwater table. If we can do an on-site, the EPA is encouraging on-site treatment. So I think some of the questions that we asked the county of, and that's part of the preliminary engineering review, is maybe 5 options. 1, do nothing. 2, connect to the centralized facility in Missoula. 3, connect to a centralized facility out here. Or maybe 4, to connect to several centralized facilities around here. And I must be forgetting all the other, did I say do nothing?
Yep.
You know, some of these new treatment facilities are, you would, looking at them, you'd think they're a greenhouse and not a treatment facility. I went to one down by Boehme and looked at it. It was no odor and very little waste comes out of it. And it's the same type of design that's going to go in Sealy Lake when they get that built up there. It's you know, they always think sewage lagoons and smell and things like that. We're so far beyond that anymore.
We've kind of used, you know, in our thinking a little bit, the Sealy Lake. You guys have plowed all that ground, and not literally, but, you know, which has helped us a little bit in thinking about what we're trying to do. And somehow politically, you guys have been able to figure out how to get that done, and that's not an easy deal to.
I've been to DC 3 times for the sewer.
I'm sure you have.
It's constant work, but you know, if you keep at it, you can do it, just like what you've already done. You just keep at it.
Yeah, you just, if you got to try, you're exactly right. You just got to nibble away at it, and pretty soon you look back and say, gee, you know, we have done something good. Now, congratulations to you guys. Gary?
I think I might be getting in trouble for doing this, but I'll do it anyway. This is a good time to bring up a commercial for the Bonner Milltown Community Council, which Steve and Bruce are serving as committee members of a community council committee and doing this sewer feasibility study approach. But the council has a vacancy. It's a 5-member council, and there are only 4 members now on it. So it needs another member, and sewer feasibility project is a great example of how the council can act as a communicator between the local community and the county. And we would love to have another member on our council.
Well, I would nominate Bruce.
I would second that.
Okay, done. All those in favor?
I was talking to the County Public Works last week, and they are in process of getting the consultant for this thing. It should have it by the end of next month.
Wow.
Then Greg Robertson, the Director of Public Works, and the consultant will be out to the Bonner Milltown Council probably in April for a Q&A and an open discussion of what the possibilities are.
Awesome. Before we, is everybody done? I'll just make a last comment, and then you can close it out however you want. I just think if you were to have this group or this sort of a function to take place in the city of Missoula with 90-some, 100,000 people, you wouldn't get 10% of what we got here. I mean, that's a tribute to you folks, and it's just incredible. I'm always amazed. We go to the council, and if anybody's talking, no matter who it is, a whole bunch of people come that are interested in their community and how things go, and you should be very, very proud of yourselves. And we're proud of ourselves. We consider ourselves part of this deal now too. So,
A quick follow-up on that. Bonner Milltown Council meets every second Monday of the month at 7 o'clock in the school. We'd love to see all of you there.
Have you ever thought about having an open house over there? Like, instead of having one or two people touring and bothering your tenants, just do it all at once.
And we would like to thank you all for coming out today. But I do.
But to answer that, I do believe that pedicabs, for example, some of them don't want a bunch of people wandering around, you know, and I don't blame them because there's trailers moving and trucks and all that. But I don't know whether pedicab will open it up to the community or not, but I know they're gonna have a grand opening sometime in the spring when they get rolling a little better. And I think it's worth thinking about. We ought to figure out a way to do that. It would be fun. Now, I find that a group, where's Andy? He's right. Andy just shows up with about 5 or 6 guys. And he just, the next thing you know, we're on a tour, which is awesome. So if anybody gets a little group together and really thinks, you know, would like to look around or whatever, get a hold of my partner. I'm kind of busy. He's not. We'll get that handled for you.
I do have to say one last thing, and this is unknown to the community, but Steve is the self-anointed Baron of Bonner. Thank you very much.
Before we adjourn, thank you so much, Mike and Steve. And as we had said before, they are patrons of the Bonner Milton.
We're just real quick, and this has probably been a year in the process, but we are, well, first of all, and Darren is a part of this, but he is building 2 signs, one that'll hang out of the History Center, and then also a sign, there's an old sign that belonged to the post office that we're also going to build a frame for to stick out. But also, and I've managed to, how can I gently put this? Convince First Security Bank to make a donation to help us construct 2 entry signs into Bonner. Welcome to the historic Bonner, established 1885. So it's just kind of a little recognition for the town, and it's in the works. Okay, that's all.
That's amazing. That is wonderful. I have just 3 quick announcements and then we will adjourn. Next program is right here on February 21st, 2 o'clock, Scott Keene on the logging history of Montana. And I have a quiz for you now, so I hope you're all paying attention, but this doesn't even have anything to do with our topic. The quiz is for Bill Taylor. When did the Bonner Depot burn? If you know, please see Bill and tell him, because he's writing a book about this. And finally, an announcement for the future from our friends in Bitterroot. September 22nd to 24th, 2016, in Hamilton and Stevensville, the Montana History Conference. It's the 175th anniversary of the founding of St. Mary's Mission. So be watching for more information. I know it'll be coming out in the media. Hooked on Art is February 6th, which is 2 weeks. Saturday, 10 to 4, Bonner School. There's an art market, there's art talks, there's all kinds of student art and food available, so everyone please attend 10 to 4, February 6th. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you tell everybody what that bright light is in the History Center?
Oh, the Bright Light in the History Center is a generous donation from Harry and Kathy Mead, who bought a home up the Blackfoot and discovered that one of the fixtures was from the Margaret Hotel. And they very generously called us up and said, would you like to have this? And we said, yes, thank you. And so Glenn Smith, our local hooligan, rewired it so it's safe and won't burn our facility down. And it is now hanging in the window. It's illuminated during the evening hours and parts of the daytime. So that is our Hotel Margaret facility fixture, which is returned home. Anything else? Thank you so much. Enjoy some conversation and treats.
Everyone to the Montana Connection again. 1992 Lurback Family Reunion, Lolo, Montana. We hope you enjoy this little tape on logging in western Montana. We certainly enjoyed making it for you. Here we are up in the woods. Just backed up to the trailer. He unloaded it there. We're hooking her up now. That gentleman next to me there is the guy we call a knot bumper. His job is to cut off all the excess limbs that are on the logs before they go on the truck. Our day starts at about 3:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, something on that, depending on which turn you're out. This is the outfit I work for, Hilco Incorporated. They're based right in West Riverside where I live, right close to my house. This is the inside of my truck. It's a 1990 Kenworth conventional, powered by a 350 cat engine. This loader is a Prentice 410B. It's a self-propelled hydraulic loader. It's capable of picking up about an 8,000 to 10,000 pound log and putting it on the truck. Sometimes it has a little trouble doing it, but it does a pretty good job of it. As I was mentioning, our day starts at about 3 to 3:30 in the morning, sometimes 2:30, depending on what turn you're out. And we usually run on the average of about 12 hours a day. Depending on where we're hauling to, it can amount to as much as 15 to 16 hours in a day. We have a little extra time while we're loading there for a little snack, a cup of coffee or something like that. Kind of sit and chat a little bit, as you can see. We just moved down the road for another deck here, and we're gonna load out of that deck now. We cleaned up the last one. The outfit I work for has 22 logging trucks that they have on the road. Generally, all are working. At this point, there is a couple that are being repaired right now, but as a whole, about 22 logging trucks are running out of this one outfit here that I work for. Quite a number of logging outfits in town. There's one outfit too that hauls for Champion also. He has somewhere around 55 logging trucks. Of course, half his logging trucks are in Idaho and Washington, but he has quite a few that are hauling here in this area too. Getting to the bottom of the pile here, we're going to be moving down the road here in just a second and picking up another deck. Cats bring these logs off the hill. They skid them off the hill after the sawyers cut them and put them in the decks along the road here, and then we come by and pick them up later. Now here you're going to get an idea of what this knot bumper does here. He takes care of these excess limbs you see on the logs there before they go on the truck. Wrapping up the load now. We got our load on. We got a wrapper up here. We got to put 2 wrappers on. In Idaho, you have to have 3, but in Montana, you only need 2 unless you have a short log someplace that you can't cover with the 2 wrappers, and you're going to have to use a 3rd one. But you need to have all the logs on top of the load covered. All the short logs have to have a wrapper on each end of it. If you don't and you get caught going down the highway by the Mr. Highway Patrolman, then it costs you $50 or $65 to pay the bill. And that comes out of my pocket, and I don't really care for that too much. Wrappers are pretty close together here. Apparently we had an 8-foot log up on top, so we have to cover both ends, as I said, and that's why you see the wrappers so close together. Generally, you have them a little bit farther apart than that. Kind of makes me a little mad when he puts that little short log right on top. You have to shake him up a little bit, I guess. Here we are at Pueblo, Montana. This is about an 80-mile trip we just made. Max was great company on this run. This is up in the middle of the Mission Valley, which is a very beautiful valley. We have some beautiful high rocky mountains that we drive alongside of, a lot of reservoirs and things. It's really quite a beautiful trip up there. Takes about 2 to 2.5 hours from the time I'm loaded to get to this particular mill. And like I mentioned, it's about an 80-mile trip from the woods. The whole round takes pretty close to 4 to 4.5 hours until I'm back into the woods for the next load. This unit here is called a Laternal. He can pick that whole load off in one bite. There's about roughly 27 tons of logs there that he'll be picking off there. And once he gets them off, he takes them over and puts them in an area where we have a log sorting machine that will sort them by species. And then when he gets them all sorted, then he'll come and pick them back up again and put them in the proper log deck. This unit is electric over diesel motor, and it's driven on all 4 wheels independently. There's a real large cable that runs that forklift unit, and they have been known to break before. Usually when they break is when they get the load of logs right off the truck and get them to the highest point, and then the whole thing comes down onto the truck. So consequently, the mill buys a new truck for the owner. We're back on the scales weighing out again. We have to weigh in loaded and then weigh out empty to get the proper payload. Go up to this little window here and, oh, where's that gal at? I guess I'll have to go inside and find her. She's supposed to be there to help me. Generally have a gal or a person that takes care of the weighing, and they mark the tickets for you and then give you the stub. This is a trailer loader. We pull underneath there, we unhook our hoses, drop that hook down and pick the trailer up in the air to a certain height, back underneath it, and load her back on the truck, and away we go again. This particular trailer loader is quite slow, so we can usually go over to the local restaurant there and have a hamburger while we're waiting for it to come down and go back up again. Not really, but that's about how slow it is. Just got to do a reversal of what we did up in the woods there. You got to just unhook everything and wrap it back up here, and then pick the hose up, or pick the trailer back up and put her in the air here. While we're in the woods, that loader reaches down and grabs that long cable you see right there. He just grabs the hold with the grapples and picks the trailer off, and he just pull out from under it, and he sets her back on the road, and we just back up to it. So it's really quite simple. See how slow this thing is? You gotta lay a stick down to see if it moves. We generally stand behind this little barricade here for safety reasons. And these things have been known to break. The cables have been known to break, and boy, they sure don't feel good when they big old trailers land on top of you. And that trailer weighs about 6,100 or 200 pounds. And when they come down with quite a bang. I had one time that was just picked off me, and I was almost ready to pull out from under it, and the cable broke on the loader, and it dropped right into the cradle on the truck, and I almost went through the top of the cab. Here's what we do, just back underneath it. Now we'll just load her back on the truck again. Just carry a piggyback back to the woods. Saves on the tires and a lot easier ride too. Them things ride awful rough when they're empty without the trailer loaded on them. Yeah, I think we about got our lunch done. The trailer ought to be just about back onto the truck by now. Well, that's the way you load it back on. Raise it back up a little bit so it don't hit the guy in the windshield when he comes under, and it's back to the woods. Here we are, heading up the mountainside empty. Awful dusty, isn't it? This is called a switchback. I just went around there because it does just what it says. It switches back into the opposite direction that you just came up the hill. Back up for load number 2, and the same loader, putting them back on the truck again. This is my second load. I'll have to come back for one more. I'll have 3 loads this day. This is the front end of that loader. It's self-propelled, like I mentioned before. The operator drives it right from that little cab he's operating the shovel from. It's all remote controlled from there. He can lift these outriggers. He can travel up and down the road, steer it, whatever he wants right from the cab. Come on, Max. Gotta move. This is looking across the canyon from where we're loading. It's Lolo Peak and Lantern Peak over there. This is about the middle of May. We're looking at this, 1992. Quite a bit of snow up there yet, but not near what there usually is. Matter of fact, this is a real low snow year. Here we are coming back down around that same switchback with our 80,000 pound payload. A lot of people ask me, how do you keep that truck going up and down the road with all that weight behind you? And like I always tell them, you just point the front end down the hill and the trailer will follow. You notice how nice it comes around there and just follows us on down. Little mishap on the way down here. Once in a while this does happen. The log slipped off the top there and dropped down, so we had to take her loose and re-wrap her up again. This is one of the easier ones. Most of the time you can't get your cables loose from the logs because all the weight hanging in the cables. So this unfortunately hung up on the tire there and stayed up in the air to where we was able to get the wrappers off it. So we got her all wrapped up. Now all we have to do is just back up and kick her loose there, and we'll be heading on down the road. And try to back up and I'll get the trailer brake off you nut. You'll probably make her. There we go. Back we go. Just kick the thing over the way there. Yeah, get her out of the way. It's doing all right. This is the road we go up. We have to open and close this gate in both directions. It's a closed area to the public for game management. Keep the people from molesting the game or chasing them around up there with their cars and motorcycles and things. Here we are at the Boehme complex. This is the barricade where we take the cables loose off the load. And this is the outfit I was telling you about earlier. That's the Wagner. It's smaller in proportion to the Laternal, but at the same time it's a lot more powerful. It picks the load off a lot quicker. We just pull out from behind that barricade after we get the wrappers off, just sit in the truck, and he just comes over and picks it off us, and that's all it takes. Incidentally, that mountain over there, a lot of times when we're in here unloading, particularly in the spring and winter time, there's a lot of mountain sheep over there. We get to spend a lot of time watching them when we're loading our trailers or unloading our logs. And generally they have their little ones over there too. Sea elk up in there apparently from time to time, and quite a lot of deer too. This is actually right across the river that you're looking at from the mill. There's a big river that runs right just over the bank from us here. It's called the Blackfoot River, and it ties in with the Clark Fork River just down the canyon about another mile or so, and forms the Clark Fork River. You notice how fast he come up with that load? Quite a bit faster than the other one, wasn't it? That's all it is. We just head around now over to the trailer loader again, load our trailer back on, and we'll head back for load number 3. Here again, we just do the reverse thing of what we did up in the woods. And we got to pull these extensions out of our stakes up there because if you don't, and you go into the underpasses there in town, they hook up, and of course they're over heights, and it'll unload your trailer right on the highway there, and the city police get very upset when you do that. So does your boss, because it costs quite a few $1,000s worth of damage most of the time when them things happen. Might even cost you your job. The mountain you see right behind us, that road right up there in the rocks there, comes right down behind my house, just around the corner from where we're at here. I live just about a half mile from this mill. This outfit I work for, I was mentioning a little earlier, I think I walk about 200 feet from my back door to climb in my log truck and go to work. So it's really quite convenient. No expenses. Don't have to drive anywhere. Matter of fact, I just have to go start my pickup once in a while to see if it's still alive. Here we are backing back under it again. I'm going to set her back on and we're going to head up for load number 3. Beautiful day in western Montana, isn't it? And so there it is, and as we mentioned before, it's back to the woods. It's quite different from this type of logging here, isn't it? Here, these are horse-drawn, and the old type of loaders that they used to have there were a lot less convenient than what we have today. All the logging was pretty much hand done. As you can see here, a lot of hand logging, hand loading. And these things were floated down this river, which was right next to where we was loading our trailer there. The same mountain you see in the background, they had to float the logs down, and that's the end of her. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it.